What's up, guys? Welcome back to SDG, but not for a lure build today. No, we're going to do something a little different this week. I've actually got two equipment reviews planned. On Friday, you'll see a video drop where I'm going to review, having used them for a while now, my two N2 soft plastic injectors. Today, we're actually going to do a review of this guy right here. This is my Renzetti Travelers Saltwater edition. So I'm excited to share with you my thoughts on this vise. I get a lot of questions from guys asking about what vise to use, which one are you using right now, what do you like about them, recommendations, etc., etc. So I thought it may be helpful too to kind of go down memory lane a little bit and walk through my vise journey. Show you what all vices I started with, which ones I liked, which ones I didn't so much, pros and cons of each one, and maybe that'll be a help to you. I'll be sure to drop a link for all of these vices down in the description should you want to go check those out, look at them a little bit closer. I'm pretty sure they're all on Amazon. So let's kick it off where I think probably most people kick off their vise journey. That is a little $20 cheap stationary vise that I got from Dick's Sporting Goods. So super low cost on this guy, like I said, around 20 bucks. It doesn't have a rotary, which means it doesn't spin. So if you want to look at the underside of the jig, you actually have to undo it, take the jig head out, flip it over, retighten it to do that kind of stuff. So definitely a limitation. The adjustments on it aren't all that easy. It can get a little finicky. And I found that for me anyway, it wasn't certainly as sturdy as I would have liked for it to be. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, right? Especially for that guy that doesn't have a vise yet, just wants to kind of test the waters, low risk, low cost. But if you're like most of us, you're gonna find that you really enjoy it and you'll want to move up to something else pretty quick. So that happened to me, and what did I move up to? Well, I looked on Amazon and I actually found a Regal knockoff. So Renzetti, Regal, kind of the gold standard in fly tying vices, jig tying vices. I think most would agree with that. Regal's got a different design, and I wanted to try it. It looked interesting. So this Regal knockoff, relatively low cost, super easy to load the hooks because it's tension based. So you just pull the handle in, that spreads the jaws, put your jig hook in, and release the handle. So definitely handles big jigs. It does rotate, but it's not a true rotary. So as it rotates, the shaft of the hook is going to rise and fall. A true rotary vise, when set up correctly, the shaft of that hook will stay parallel and everything else kind of rotates around it. So while it does rotate, it's not a true rotary, which is maybe a downfall. Maybe that's not important to you. For me, the biggest downfall of this vise, and why I'm actually not going to recommend it to you or to anybody else, and I'm sure it's just because it was a knockoff. You go and buy a Regal, a real one, not going to have this issue. But on this one, this inexpensive knockoff, the nut on top of the vise, there was grease coming up through it. So as I would tie anything of any color other than black, I would start to see this grease show up. Which you can imagine is very frustrating when you got a white tail or something like that and you got this big splotch of black on it. So it got so bad I had to actually put napkins around the vise and then place the stuff on top. I mean, it was really not good. So would I recommend this vise? No. Would I recommend this type of vise if you wanted to buy a high quality one and weren't really concerned about having a rotary vise? Absolutely. So where do we go from there? Well, once again, I looked on Amazon. I really wanted to find something better. I wanted to try a true rotary or something closer to it. And I came across, hey, I thought it looked cool to begin with. So it had kind of the cool factor going on, but it's a River Run Dan Vise rotary. So very cool vise, tied on it on this channel for a long time. All the important parts on it are metal. However, most of the vise is a hard plastic. The rotary is very smooth. It handles big jigs without any problem. It's extremely easy to adjust. It was only like 70 bucks for a true rotary, as long as it's set up properly. You got to make sure that that hook shank is right where it needs to be. But if you do, it's a true rotary for like 70 bucks. And I used it for a long time, loved it. I still to this day get comments and questions about it because, well, it looks cool and it functions well. So a lot of pros to that vise. What are some of the cons? Well, as I mentioned, it's not all metal. So there's some hard plastic pieces. Again, all the important parts are metal, but you know, plastic is plastic. It's going to wear out over time. And not only were there parts of the vise that were hard plastic, but the table clamp was actually all plastic. So the post that goes down through the clamp, metal, no problem there. Jaws are metal. But the clamp itself, as well as some of the housing, is plastic. And what I have found, because I really rank on some jigs, right? We use 210 denier, flat wax nylon. We refund those on those hooks from time to time, and I found that there was just a little bit of play in the clamp itself. There was a little bit of play in the post where it hooked up to the clamp, just enough, even a little twist. I mean, just the smallest little bit, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me, bugged me, and it just each time it moves like that, you wonder if you're just wearing it out that much more. So if you're not planning to do really big jigs, or you don't really reef on those hooks as much as I do, great vise. And actually it's a vise that I'm gonna keep in my arsenal because that's the buddy vise. So if I'm tying with somebody else, I liked it enough, definitely wanted to keep it, and that would be the vise that a buddy would use. So would I recommend it? Absolutely. I mean, especially for the money, if you're looking for a rotary vise, a true rotary vise that's smooth, the rotary is smooth action on it, it's a really great option. It really was. I'm glad I got it, and I will keep it for as long as it functions well. So that brings us to today. Today I tie on a Renzetti Traveler's Saltwater, that's key, in the blackout edition, which just means all the pieces on it are black. There's no chrome or different things like that. This is a beautiful vise. It is not inexpensive, so it's definitely an investment. I've had it for about 7 to 8 months. After Christmas, I had actually a big order through SDG that allowed me to use those funds to upgrade this vise. You can see it's all metal design with the exception of just one little bobbin holder tension screw. The clamp itself is metal, which is a huge plus. You can also get it in a pedestal if you don't want the seat clamp. The rotary is super smooth on it. The saltwater jaws, remember this is a Renzetti Traveler's Saltwater. They just have Renzetti Travelers. This is a Renzetti Traveler's Saltwater. The saltwater jaws are made to take big hooks. So I hadn't even looked at the Renzetti line because you were tying teeny tiny little number 20 nymphs and tiny little flies on it. And I just never thought that they made anything for us big jig guys. Lo and behold, they have a saltwater edition that can take up to an 8/0 hook. And because it's an all metal design, including the post and the seat clamp, this thing is rock solid. No play. If I pull on the jig head, the whole thing is moving with the jig head, right? I'm not able to move the jig around and see this play in the vise anywhere. So definitely a rock solid design. Super easy to adjust. So it's got some fine tuning adjustment knobs here. The jaws itself can move up and down so that when you put your hook in, it aligns with the axis of the vise itself, which gives you that true rotary. And of course it's backed by Renzetti, one of the best vise manufacturers on the planet. And give me a break. This thing looks sweet. So what's the con? There's got to be a con, right? The con really is one thing, and that's the entry fee. So this vise will run you about 270 bucks, but when you think about the longevity of this piece of equipment, what you can do on it, the ease of use, the company that manufactured it stands behind it. It's an investment that will pay dividends for decades to come. So if you're asking me if I would recommend it, that would be a resounding yes. So there you go, guys. My journey from $20 Dick's standalone, can't really move it, hard to deal with, to, in my opinion, especially for bass jig guys that like to tie on big hooks, one of the best premier vices that you can get to get that done with that saltwater jaw. With that said, I got a lot of buddies in this industry, and I know that they use different vices than what I've used, both the Renzetti here as well as any of the others that you've seen today. So I know that there's some other good ones out there, and I would be remiss if I did not mention those as well. So some other great options, all rotary except for one, are the Griffin Odyssey Spider. It's about 85 bucks. Great vise, heard great things about that one. The Griffin Mongoose, have heard a lot of guys like that one. That's going to run you about 175 bucks. Peak makes a great rotary vise as well. You can get a Peak rotary for 165. And then if you don't want to go the rotary route, you can actually get a traveler size Regal, very high quality, for about 200. And of course, those are just some samples. There's a lot of different models out there. There's a lot of different kinds within those, each one of those subsets that you can look for. So go find the one that's right for you. For me, I am home with this Renzetti Traveler Saltwater. Couldn't be more happy with it. So I hope this was both enjoyable for you as well as helpful. I tried to be as comprehensive as I could in this review. So if I had any questions, hopefully I was able to answer those for you. For me, it was actually fun to kind of think back over the years of jig tying and thinking through those vices that I used and what I liked and what I didn't. So I appreciate the opportunity to share that with you guys. If you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see maybe some lure building using the equipment that we talked about today, click on this video right here. If you're curious why I call the channel SDG, click on this video right here. Otherwise, until the next time, I'll see you guys at the Renzetti.